Hi there. We are going to talk a little bit about social validity. Just hope a quick one. I had some questions in the reading responses from this week about social validity, and it's a concept that I really like. I think it's a really important one, so I want to take a few minutes to talk about it rather than write about it in my replies to your reading responses. So there are basically three elements of social validity that we talk about in the research, and this is an idea that dates back all the way to 1978 with an author named Wolf, who described social validity. It's not something we've talked about probably enough in special education, although it is gaining importance within the field and within the research. Often if you read a research article, they'll talk about how they address social validity. And I'm going to talk about these three elements kind of in reverse of what you see on the screen, because acceptability is the easiest one, and then I want to spend a little bit more time on importance and significance. So when we talk about the acceptability of the social acceptability of a treatment, this is the person who needs to implement the treatment needs to think that the treatment or the intervention that we're recommending is going to work, it's going to be feasible, it's not going to take too much time, it's going to be aligned with their philosophy of how to teach or of how to be in the world. So an example of when things lack treatment acceptability or social acceptability is when we sometimes as special educators work with general education teachers and we ask them to implement some kind of, say, a behavior contract, because we know in special education that behavior contracts are really quite useful because they can help a child keep track of whether they're doing well or poorly, and we can reinforce them on a regular schedule so that they feel that they're successful. But a lot of times general ed teachers think that behavior contracts are intrusive, that it's bribing students to do things. They want to work on intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation. And so when we recommend behavior contracts to gen ed teachers, they often will say, yeah, I'll do that, but they don't do it. And one of the reasons they don't do it is that intervention that we recommended did not have social acceptability for the teacher who needed to put that intervention in place. So basically, if we don't believe in it, we won't do it. And you could probably think of a lot of examples of that in your life, but we see it quite a bit in education. And a lot of times it's because it just seems like this intervention that you're recommending, it's too hard, it's too time consuming, I don't want to do that. Another element in social validity that's really important is the significance of a particular outcome in an individual's life. And when that individual views this change as important, they're more willing to invest themselves in pursuing that goal or pursuing that dream. So social significance of that outcome is really very much related to that individual. Most kids really want to learn to read. That is a socially significant outcome, and so most kids will pursue that goal. Not all kids, but most kids. So that's what social significance is. And if you've ever had someone set a goal for you that you didn't agree with, you probably didn't pursue that goal. And I go back all the time to weight loss examples because that's something so many people understand. If you go to your doctor's office and the doctor says you need to lose 10 pounds and you think, no, I'm good. I don't need to lose 10 pounds. I'm fine. That is not a socially significant outcome for you. And so you aren't that interested in going after it. Also, going to acceptability of treatment procedures, the things you might need to do to lose those 10 pounds might not be acceptable to you. So you don't do it. I'm not going to put down the carbs. I'm just not. That's not acceptable. Oh, too much about me? Sorry. And then the final one, and actually I'm going to talk about this some more on the next slide, is this a change in behavior that's important to the family? Because if it's important to the family, they also will rally around and try to help make this happen for their child, for their individual with a disability. Social validity, by the way, it applies to everyone, even if you don't have a disability. But in this particular case, we want to make sure that any interventions we try are something we're doing for our students and not to them. And so the social importance of making this change to their family and to the community is a really big part of whether something has social validity and whether the change can be made. So that's basically what social validity is and what the elements of it are. When we think about the family, I really want you to think about valuing cultural linguistic diversity. So if you are a person who has been living in the dominant culture in your society, we have a certain way that we think things should be done. And we have a certain set of beliefs that we think are appropriate. And this is how people do it. But sometimes the outcome that we think in the dominant culture is important is not the outcome that the family wants or cares about. So that can really impinge on our pursuit of social validity. Does the family want this change? Will it help this individual be in the community? And are there cultural values that differ from yours that make this behavior to change less important? So I'll give you an example from my own life. My father grew up in Iran, or as people sometimes say, Iran, but it's Iran. And he came to California to go to college and met my mom and married her and stayed, and then I was born and we live here now. But my dad, because he lived to adulthood in Iran, in a different culture, in a Middle Eastern background, he has cultural values that in some ways don't align with mine. I'm a native Californian. When I moved out of the house, when I was, post-college age, actually, I stayed home and I wasn't married when I moved out. And it really upset my father because he really, really thought that I should stay home because that's what you do. That's what daughters do in particular. You stay home and you live with the family until you're married. And then you move out and make your own home. So that caused some conflict for my dad and I back many, many years now. And these are the kinds of conflicts that we can sometimes see also with other families, that having their adult children live in the home, they value that. They value extended family. They value just being together and being in a community that's different than sort of what middle-class white Americans view as, you're 18, you get out of the house. So when we're talking about transition plans for some kids, and we say we want to help them get ready to live outside the family, and the family thinks, no, that's good. We like living with our child, and we don't care if they never move out. So when we talk about social validity, we really do need to think about what are the cultural values of the people with whom we are working. Is the thing that we are pushing them in the direction of important to them or not? And that's another place where we can break down with our social validity if we're not giving proper attention to whether the family wants to see that change occur. And they might not even be able to describe that they don't want it to change. There is a move also in special education toward having individuals with severe disabilities engage with age-appropriate recreational activities. So if you've got a 16-year-old, maybe you don't really want them watching Barney anymore because Barney isn't age-appropriate for someone who is 16. On the other side of that, however, there's the social validity argument of if the family thinks Barney is cool and that individual thinks Barney is cool, why are we forcing them to make a change? So I think that keeping an open mind about what families believe and want and care about is a really important part of social validity. And then I want you to also think about the social significance of this outcome on the individual's life. Is the individual on board with changing themselves? Or are we just trying to get them to fit in? I think of stories I hear quite often about teenagers who have high functioning autism, and we have a belief, a lot of us, that we need to have friends and you need to have social skills and you need to engage with other humans. And sometimes I've heard teenagers with autism say, I don't want to have friends. I'm good like I am. I don't need that. It's not socially significant to some individuals to make friends. So implementing an intervention about having peer interactions might not be something that matters to that kid, and so they're not going to do it. So that's essentially what I want to say about social validity. I hope it was helpful. It's something I'm really passionate about. It's something I think we need to spend more time considering. Because we don't want to do interventions to people. We want to do interventions with people. And that means always being attentive to social validity. All right, I'm signing off. Talk to you soon.